Hello everybody and welcome to another video. This week we're going to be looking at more shiny Knights of the Round Table in the form of these Bretonnian Knights of the Realm on foot. I've been wanting to paint these guys for a really long time. Let's crack on. So this is a box of models I've been excited about for quite some time now, and I'm so pleased to finally have them in my hands. Looking at the sprues, they're looking like a really nice varied bunch of models. It's the standard Games Workshop fare for newer models, highly detailed but somewhat monopose, but loads of weapon options and choices for the arms and heads to make up for that. These are really nice models, and you can see the direct evolution from those old Bretonnians from 2003 to where they are now. I decided to build this box up as two 10-man war bands, so we have some with hand weapons and shields and then another 10 with great weapons. Today we'll just be focusing on those sword and board guys, and here are the first 5 looking absolutely gorgeous. We're going to build up the other 5 very quickly off camera, and then we're going to get into the important part, which is the painting. Now what I consider to be the most important and exciting part of painting Bretonnians is all of the bright colours, so we're going to quickly skip through the armour stages. I always start by painting the armour because it covers a good chunk of the body, and it means that we can then go in and do all the tabards, jupons, waffen rocks, whatever you want to call them, the flowy clothes over the top, and do them nice and neatly without worrying that the armour is going to be messing everything up afterwards. If you are interested in how to do nice shiny armour, then I recommend you check out the video in the top right now. It's another video about painting Bretonnians, this time mounted on horseback. Now, 2 of my favourite colours are a nice dark blue and burgundy. I actually have those on my walls in my house, not the same rooms, but they're just brilliant colours, very rich, very interesting to the eye, and super saturated. So these boys are going to be a mix of the 2. I'm starting with a nice base coat of Cantor Blue from Citadel. Other blues are available, and I'm going to be base coating this all over the areas that I want to be split up in various patterns. In a previous video, I just stuck to a standard quarter scheme for all my Bretonnians, but this warband are going to be slightly different in that I'm going to do loads of different shapes using these same colours. This will help everyone look like an individual and yet at the same time appear really unified in terms of colour scheme. So to keep things simple for our starting miniature here, we're going to go with burgundy on just one side of the body. I'd usually paint the test scheme on the shield and then follow it up on the tabards, and that makes sure that it makes sense to me visually. If it can't look good on a shield, it's probably not going to look amazing all over the robes, so use the shields, this nice small flat area, as your test bed. I applied a few thin coats of burgundy over this area to make sure it was nice and saturated. Moving on to the leader of the warband, I'm doing some chevrons up and down all over his robes and his shield, which I think is a really cool look. At the first glance, it looks a little bit muddy and the colours blend together, but when we get onto those highlighting stages, it's going to look a lot better. I'm hoping that looking through all these different ways of painting multiple colours on knights, whether it's quartered, halved, or in chevrons or shapes, or even checkers like this guy coming up, who took quite some time, I'll be honest, will be a nice reference for anyone watching this video looking for a bit of inspiration. One way that I got my own inspiration after not finding a huge amount on YouTube about it was to pick up a heraldry book from Amazon. Nothing flashy or expensive, but loads of historical heraldry inside, and it can at least inspire you to go a specific direction with your knights. One way that's very bright and colourful is this kind of pinstripe pattern that goes all the way down. I really like this because it looks like the leggings of old that you'd see squires, or I suppose jesters, wear, but I really like it, a great way of splitting up the colour. If you wanted to take the more classic route and have everybody in different colours, you can use the exact same techniques here, just changing up your colour palette. Of course, it's going to take more time as you switch between paints, but ultimately these guys will take you some time anyway, especially if you're painting them anything like this, because every model is essentially slightly free-handed. Just take your time and use your original base colour to tidy up any mistakes. And if you want to go simple, just go simple. Half schemes and quarter schemes also look excellent. You don't need to go wild. Now the part that's going to make these knights absolutely sing is when you get onto the highlighting stage. This is going to allow you to break up those shapes you spent all that time creating previously. For my specific scheme, over the Cantor Blue, I'm using Lothern Blue as my highlight on top of all those folds in the clothes, and also to break up the shapes on the shield and down the middle of the tabard. For the burgundy, which I don't think I mentioned was Baraknar burgundy, I'm going to be using Screamer Pink, which is a really bright highlight colour. The best example of starting to break up the shapes is here on this champion. He has all his chevrons going down the centre of his body, and I started to outline them in my highlight colour. When I come back in with Screamer Pink shortly, I'll do the exact same on the flip side. Now, I've mentioned in many videos how much I like edge highlighting as a way to make things seem really bright and crisp, and whilst it is a difficult technique to master, it's very easy to learn, so I do recommend you practice as much as you can, wherever you can, even on simple models that are boxy or square, because when it comes to things like these Bretonnians, it's an absolutely essential skill to make them really pop and stand out. With all the bright colours done, it's important we don't neglect our slightly more neutral areas, so a quick highlight on all their underclothes will actually help the bright colours stand apart even more, so it's worthwhile doing. For the armour, I also added some nice shiny highlights because the armour is the second main player of these knights. With the tabards being the main with all those bright colours, you need that gleaming armour underneath. In keeping with the theme of these guys being an absolute riot of colour, I made sure all the weapon grips were a nice bright green, highlighted really sharply. I think this is a really cool way to add a bit more flair and pop to these guys. I personally kept the faces simple just by adding more and more bright highlights into a pale flesh tone. All the other parts, the leather bags, the gold trim, you've seen me paint on other models, so I'm not going to labour it in this video. You can go check out any of the others in my repository if you want to see them. But I am going to leave in the bit where we tidy up the base rims because it's always so satisfying. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it's given some inspiration on painting your Bretonnian knights. I've been Sam. See you next time.